God, I just thank you so much for just this time together and these leaders. Lord, I am just always inspired by these great leaders and the work that you're doing through them. I think about all the incredible kingdom work that's represented on this call right now, needs being met, the gospel being shared and advanced, people drawing closer to you, all because of these incredible leaders and the incredible work that you've called them to. So, God, we're just grateful to be a part of it. Father, we just commit this time to you. We're trying to figure out the right next steps for social media. And Lord, just speak to us and meet each of us right where we are. We're all in different places, but share an important word with us today. We just lift Triva up to you today. Just speak through her and bless her in a special way. And we pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Triva, take it
Amen.
away.
Okay. Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Jonathan. This is exciting. I've always been on the other side of taking your trainings and in person and on Zoom, and I've always learned so much. I'm super excited to be the one sharing today. And I just know that God's going to do a work in each one of us. And we all have different goals, different nonprofits, and different responsibilities. And so I hope that today is a blessing to everyone. So yeah, my name is Triva Runyon, and I am the Communications and Care Coordinator at Hope Women's Center. I am the social media manager there, but I also work with volunteers and outreach, volunteers and onboarding, but also outreach. And I pretty much do anything they ask me to do in way of communication. So I will go speak at events or meet with different people that they would have me meet with. And then the care coordinator part is I also am the encourager to our volunteers, and I would hope our staff too at times. So I'll send out thank you notes and things like that. I feel like volunteers need to be reminded that even if they don't see every day when they're there, the fruit of their labor, that they are appreciated. And so, yeah, I love my job so much. I moved here from Oregon about 9 months ago. And so I've been at Hope for about 9 months, and I could not love Hope Women's Center anymore. They're amazing. I also am a muralist. So Jonathan and I were talking about that earlier. I paint on walls. I get paid to paint on walls, and it's so fun. And I share that I'm a muralist because I have an art degree. And so I feel like that overflows into social media, just from the creativity standpoint. But you don't have to be a creative to be good at social media. And that's what we're going to go through today. Is we're just going to simplify it today so none of us get overwhelmed by it. So what is Hope? Well, Hope Women's Center is a faith-based, trauma-informed nonprofit organization that provides vulnerable women and teen girls with education, mentoring, and support. We began as a small pregnancy center in Apache Junction in 1984, and this year is our 40th year. So we're super excited about our 40 years in ministry. We started out with that one small location in Apache Junction, and now we have 6 locations. So our headquarters is in Phoenix, and then we have centers in Maricopa, Coolidge, Camp Verde, Apache Junction, and West Valley. So we're expanding our reach to our community to serve more women and teen girls. And we love to walk alongside women and teen girls, no matter what difficult life situation they're facing. We walk alongside them. When I say no matter what, it's everything. So poverty, substance abuse, sex trafficking, depression, family conflict, domestic violence, anything you can think of that she might struggle with, we're there to help. And so we have a huge desire and love for our community and for our women. And we want to see them go from trauma to transformation. So at Hope Women's Center, our mission is to engage, encourage, and equip women and teen girls, no matter what they face. And it's pretty amazing. I got to teach a class where 90% volunteer based, 90%. So most of our volunteers, our classes are taught by our volunteers, but I had the privilege of teaching a loss and grief class back in December. And to just have that one-on-one time with our women, with our clients, it was so special. And I know that what we do transforms them. God uses that, but then it also transforms us. I was transformed in that 6-week class just by sharing with them and then hearing what they had to share with me in their loss and grief. Okay, so this is called Accelerate Your Social Media, right? So we're going to start our engines. We're going to get going. If you're not awake yet, you should get more coffee because I've already had mine today. But why social media? Social media is a place to effectively tell your story. That's what we want to talk about today is how can you be more effective? It's a place to share your brand, your mission, and your vision. If you don't know what your mission or your vision is, then social media is going to be chaotic and all over the place. It's also a place to impact your community. That is the part that I love the most. I love telling our story at Hope. I love impacting our community. I love it when clients are encouraged by either our social media or our volunteers are encouraged, our donors see our impact. I love that back and forth. I said to our CEO, Tammy, yesterday, I love the way we communicate. I love communication. And then that's my title is Communications and Care Coordinator. That's why I love social media. Social media sometimes gets a bad rap for all the other things that might be negative. But if we use it as a tool properly, I believe that God uses it to get us out there in the community, to be a light in a dark place, and it can be used really, really well. It is social, so we need to have those relationships and those connections on social media. It's about people, I think there's about 4 billion people that use social media, so we can't afford to not be on social media. And what we want to do is, like, I get caught at night just scrolling through Instagram. I know a lot of us do, and it is entertaining, but when I stop on somebody's page or on their reel, they've grabbed my attention, that's a successful post. And so that's what we want to do. We want, if people are just scrolling through or going through their stories, we want to be able to stop them based on what we're sharing. Okay, this is my favorite part. I don't know about you guys, but I do much better when things are simplified. If my life starts to feel chaotic or too much, I get overwhelmed, and then I'll just bury my head and quit on probably whatever it is, at least for a few days. So today we're going to keep it simple. 60% of the world uses social media, but it can feel overwhelming to manage it well. There are 1,000 different ways that we could do this. There's 100 different ways that I could put together this webinar today, but we're not going to complicate it. We're just going to bring it down to simplicity. So at Hope Women's Center, my role, I have several things. I was telling you, I work with the volunteers, I do their onboarding, I speak at different events. We're going to launch a teen program, and I'm a big part of that as well. So I can't have everything that I do be the social media. And you guys may be in that same boat where you're like, I don't have a lot of time every day to put into social media. So where do I start? How do I effectively use it in my nonprofit? So we're going to go over some benefits and some difficulties of social media. Some of the benefits are to build trust, make connections, increase engagement, promote events, and to also do fundraising. So posting on social media platforms furthers your organizational goals and purpose in a different format. 55% of individuals who engage with nonprofits on social media take action, and 59% of those donate money. That's from nonprofitsource.com, which is a great resource. So like I said, I love people, I love communication. I love the fact that social media gives us a platform that without it, we wouldn't have. We wouldn't be able to reach all these different people. So building trust and making connections, we want to make sure that we put our information out there and that it is accurate, it is true, and it is authentic. And when we're authentically sharing truth, then that is when we are going to build trust. I don't know if you've ever been on somebody's social media where what they're sharing doesn't seem quite right or doesn't seem quite accurate, or you just lose trust. You don't want to follow them anymore. And so as nonprofits and as Christians, we want to make sure that we're being truthful. Our clients and our donors and our volunteers will they will connect with us more. They'll want to be more involved if we are being truthful, if we're building that trust with them and to making those connections with them. And a lot of times that making connections can be as simple as just responding to somebody's comment. I know there's been times when I've been so busy that I'll go back on Instagram and I'm like, oh no, I have all these notifications that I need to like respond to these comments. It doesn't mean that you have to have some really long conversation, but just that they know that they were seen and heard is a great way to make a connection and build trust. And so it just takes a little bit of extra time, a little bit of extra effort, but it's a great benefit of social media. Also to increase engagement. Again, being authentic, showing pieces from inside your nonprofit. So one of the things I want to work on this year in our 40th year is to show not only the history of where Hope Women's Center has been. I'm going to have some different posts throughout the years of clients from past years. What are their stories? And then I want to show like a day in the life of Hope Women's Center. What do we do there? Because on social media is where we get to share a little bit more about who we are and being authentic in that way and showing people, you know, what you do behind the scenes, who your staff is, who your volunteers are, what companies do you partner with. That just allows people to connect with you, and then it increases engagement. They can get more involved. They can share a post, something resonates with someone, and then they end up sharing that. Also, impact stories are awesome to see what successes have your nonprofit had and what stories with your clients. I share stories a lot with our clients, and I'll share later kind of how I do that because we have to be careful with privacy and things like that. But we have a way that we can still share our stories and we honor our client, but we also allow the community to see a little bit about what we do. You can promote events and fundraising on social media, which you guys probably already do and already know. But again, without doing that, we're missing a whole piece of the pie. And so by getting ourselves out there, promoting the events, we can then share what we're doing, what our needs are, what is our goal this year, and we can get people involved. People want to get involved. They want to come on board with what you're doing. And so by putting those out there, those events, fundraising, doing the ask, the call to action, you're asking people get involved in what we're doing. And oftentimes that's super successful. One of the things we do with our donors is, and I'll talk about this later as well, but we are really big on thanking them. So every single time we have someone come into one of our centers with a donation, it could be a bag of clothes that an organization donates. They come in, we have a poster board that says, thank you, Hope Women's Center. Everyone is supposed to take a picture of that. And then that gets sent into our social media channel that I'll get that picture. And then I post it with a thank you and I tag that organization. So that's huge for us, is to always thank our donors.
Hey, Treva, it's Jonathan.
Yeah.
So that's intriguing to me. So can you just add a little bit of detail there? You're saying then intentionally you guys grab that picture, or somebody does. Where does it end up, and sort of what's the process on how it moves from a person walking in with a donation to a social media post?
Yes. So kind of towards the end here, I am going to show you guys Slack app that we use. That is where we hold all of our client stories, all of our Instagram photos. And yeah, I'm going to spend a little bit of time there because that's how this whole thing evolved. We were in a training at Hope. Jonathan, you and Heather were there leading it. And the question came about in different nonprofits. Yes, we want to do social media. We want to share client stories. We want to do all these things, but then how do we organize that? And how we have staff going in all different directions. How do we get that information into one place that it can be used? And I did not come up with the idea of Slack, but when I got hired, obviously I started using Slack and I love it. And so I believe that our social media, the way that we share stories, is so streamlined. I don't have any problem. So I am definitely going to share that. Yeah, good question. See, I just did a teaser right there. Now everybody's like, what are you talking about? So yeah, we'll spend some time there. Some difficulties, you guys know this, is not having enough time to manage your social media. That is a difficulty across the board, or not having enough staff to focus on the creating and the posting. We're going to talk about that, and again, how to simplify it, how to make it easy so that you can do it and not have to stress over it. Deciding on which social media platforms, we're going to talk about that. Being consistent with your social media presence, that's hard to do sometimes. And I'll share a couple stories about that as well, but it's super important to be consistent. And then coming up with creative content ideas. And I'll talk about that too. So we'll go over all of these and how to effectively deal with these difficulties. So first, you want to start out with your why. And these are great questions. You may know the answer to these questions right now. You may not. I would encourage you, if you don't, to sit with your team and come up with, what is your goal with social media? It will probably have something to do with your goal in your nonprofit, your mission, your vision. But what is your goal with social media? So at Hope, our goal is to increase awareness and bring about engagement as a trauma-informed community as we walk alongside women and teen girls. And so we want to make other people aware of what we're doing, because someone that's looking at our social media may not be a future client, but they probably know someone that needs our resources and our help. So think about what your goal is. You'll want to write this down. You want to have this with you so that you stay in your lane when you're doing your social media. And then what impact do you want to make? For us, we want to impact our donors, our clients, our volunteers, our community. And so that's a little bit different. When I do our social media, I'm thinking I want to have posts throughout the month that are going to reach each one of these audience people. I want to have an impact that can reach all the different people, but it's not all going to happen just in one post. So I try to sprinkle different posts throughout the month that might be more towards a donor or might be more towards a client. But I know that I want that impact to be that they remember that Hope is available, that we're a free resource, that we're in these 6 different locations, that we're out in the community making a difference. And then lastly, what voice do you want to have? Well, for us, our voice is one of empathy, compassion, and strength. So that there's a voice that I want to give to our social media. It's not my voice. It's not Treva's voice. It's Hope as a whole. What voice does Hope want to have on social media? And then I want to make sure that I keep to that as I'm sharing and posting. And you'll see that with the people that you follow. If you follow a really fun, like there's Scottsdale Bachelorette, I follow them. They follow Hope. They're a really fun bachelorette. They put on events. They have an Airbnb that they put together. They're super fun. All of their posts have wild music and lots of color. And their voice is just, hey, if you connect with us, you're going to have a great time for your bachelorette party and we'll take care of everything. Well, that's a completely different voice than Hope Women's Center, right? So you want to consider with your nonprofit, what tone do you want to have? And then you can keep with that tone. It just helps you to stay in your lane and stay focused. Okay, and then who is your audience? Clients, donors, volunteers, and community. That's our audience at Hope. Might be the same for you as well. But again, it goes back to, who are you talking to? And when you think about platforms and which platforms to use, you want to go where your audience is, right? That makes sense. You only want to go where they are. You don't want to spend time on a platform on social media if your audience isn't there. So with this audience for us, that's why I try to sprinkle in posts that will reach each type of audience. Sometimes I struggle with this because I'm going to talk to a donor different than I'm going to talk to a client, right? And so on social media, I try to keep it a little bit more generalized so that if a client is reading a post that might be for a donor, they're not ever feeling off-put by anything that I'm saying. So you want to consider your audience and consider how your posts are shared. Who is going to read that? What feeling are they going to get out of that post? So I try to consider all of those things. I worked with a nonprofit a while back, and they had a Facebook and an Instagram. And Facebook, they had their regular Facebook page, which is great, but then they had a Facebook group for their donors. So there were a lot of things that they wanted to share with their donors that they did not want on their Instagram and Facebook pages that goes out to everyone. So they created a Facebook group so that when their gala was coming up and they wanted to tell their donors certain things, they could just communicate through that Facebook group. We don't do that at Hope, but I thought that was a really great idea at this other nonprofit, because then they're at least separating it. They didn't want their clients necessarily to know all the things that the donors are knowing, right? And vice versa. So that worked out really well for them. Content categories. This could be a lot of things. I chose these 4 to share. Pretty basic, but you have to educate, inform, connect, and request. So we want to make sure that when we're reaching people, that we're in one of these categories. So to educate, we want to share content that will educate our audience, so that they will see us as a voice of authority, which with whatever field we're in. So whatever your nonprofit is focused on, you want to be the authority in that focus. And so this will build trust again. So when you're sharing pieces of information with them, when you're educating them on different things, like we'll do, percentages. I think we have 95% of our clients have been in domestic violence situations. So when I'm sharing that and I'm educating in that way, especially when it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month, I'm letting other people know, hey, this is what we deal with. These are the women we work with. This is how we are helping them. And so you want to educate in your community. It will reach those who are interested in that. I had someone say to me one time, whatever God brings you through, he will make you a minister too. How many of us are actually in an organization because of something that happened in our past or our experience? I am. I was pregnant at 19 and I had an abortion. And my heart has always been to help teenagers, to help women who are in a vulnerable position that don't know which way to go. I had nothing like Hope Women's Center back when I was 19. And so even just in this, educate and inform. I want people to know on our social media, this is how we help, this is what we do, and this is why. So that's really important too, when you're doing your posts, to have content that is educating and informing people. In informing people, you can share upcoming events, promotions, what your needs are. Every month at Hope, we share monthly needs. It's one post. It's all 6 centers listed on that post of everything we need, whether it's shampoo, conditioner, diapers, whatever we need for our clients. So every month I post that, usually mid-month. I get all that information from our center managers at all 6 locations. And so I'm letting the community know, hey, here's a simple way that you can connect with us. You can help our women. You can be a part of what we're doing. And so I'm sharing that with them, and it always goes over really well. And we always get those donations that we super appreciate. You can also inform people by sharing little bits of behind the scenes. Like I told you, I want to do a day in the life at Hope. I think it's important to show people the inside of what we're doing. Social media is all about relationships. So if we're only posting static information, statistics, the quotes, things like that, if that's all we're sharing, then they're not feeling that back and forth relationship. But when they get to feel like, we're just FaceTiming them on Instagram saying, oh, this is what's going on in our organization, they feel like they're partnering with us. And that really is what we want. Then we have connect and request. So connecting, one of the ways I love to connect is through storytelling. And a lot of you may already do this, but I love to tell stories of what is going on. I love to tell stories of our clients. I am very empathetic. I love hearing our client stories of how they went from feeling very alone to feeling very safe. And even the class that I taught on loss and grief, one of the ladies had said, I love coming here. I look forward to coming here for these classes because this is my safe place. And it just gets me emotional because they're already connecting. Well, if I can take that quote and share it on social media and let people know this is how our clients feel when they come to Hope, again, we're creating a connection. And then request, this is the call to action. This is when you're asking for donations. You want people to come to your events. You want to do a fundraiser. You need volunteers. This is the asking part. Jonathan, do you have any questions or anything to add there?
We're just having some conversations in the chat box and just highlighting some things. No, just great stuff. I mean, I think just reiterating, and I just chatted about it here, that social media is supposed to be social, right? It's not one-way communication. It's supposed to be two-way communication, a way to build community and build relationships. So yeah, love that reminder, as opposed to something where we're just putting out announcements.
Right.
So I think that's a great reminder. The other thing is, as people react and engage on social media, right, then we need to react and engage back, right? That's part of the relationship building. If people react and engage and never hear anything back, then, right, that's not the right connection through social media as well. So great stuff.
Exactly. Yep.
Treva,
And I
can
think
I
this,
jump in with one thing?
yeah,
When you started and talked about how the percentage of people giving, a lot of people I hear talk about social media and they get discouraged because, their desire is for people to give and they don't get a lot of response and everything. But what I've loved about what you just did in the last couple of slides is highlight the breadth of ways to use it. And because social media is about relationships, it's not just about giving. But if you're good at relationships, you see that you're going to have a pretty good percentage. But I think at times when we are overwhelmed, we have lots of stuff to do, and it's a lot of work to manage this. You're keeping it simple to go, well, if you just have these categories, and maybe you only have 2 of these categories that your group says we can bite off. The work of doing good and connecting with people through social media means that you're not just focused on the money, but the money becomes a byproduct of a good relationship. So I think you've hit the nail on the head on simplicity and what the goal is, and kind of lifts that frustration, that discouragement to go, man, if I can educate and inform, that's awesome. And then I can request in a variety of ways, and people do respond. That when we do a good job with relationship, people do respond. So thanks for putting it the way you have.
oh, that's so true. It used to be that social media was just a place that we just shared what we were doing on a given day. It has evolved so much, right? And so without the back and forth, like you shared, we would not be successful. And here's just my 2 cents. That isn't, it's not even in my notes. But when you choose someone within your nonprofit to lead your social media, please choose someone who's social. I know that sounds, that is so obvious, right? I love people. I love communication. I love social media. So I am the perfect person at Hope Women's Center to lead it. But you would not want someone who is a behind the scenes, does never want to show their face anywhere, does not want to use there are beautiful humans like that, and we need that personality, 1000%. We don't, however, need that personality to run social media. That's just my little commercial. So you do want a social person to lead social media. You also want a social person who has good communication and also good boundaries. So, right, because whatever goes out into the universe from our nonprofit, it's really hard to pull that back. So we'll go over kind of some checks and balances with things like that. But this next slide is like what we were talking about. In the marketing world, there's an 80-20 rule that states that 80% of your social media posts should aim to inform, entertain, and educate your audience, and only 20% should be actively promoting your organization. So 80% of the time, you're sharing content. You are putting out the effort. And only 20% of the time are you asking for someone to bring back the effort. Do you know what I mean? So you're communicating, you're putting yourself out there, you're sharing, and then they're going to come back with that, 20% you might ask for something, but you don't ever want it to be that I'm on social media so that I can get donations. We're on social media so that we can have this fundraiser. You're on social media to interact with the community, to share your vision, your impact, what is God doing? And then the rest of that, like you said, Heather, an overflow will happen as the audience connects back with you. So if you're a good connector, you will get that engagement that you need. But I love this. This is just an easy way to go 80-20 rule. It is my social media, 80% informing, entertaining, educating, and only 20% asking. I think that's huge. Okay, and then different content types that are out there. You do not have to use all of these. You could literally use 2 or 3 of these, but these are some different things. You know, you can have a post that's just text. That is probably the most boring way that you could be on social media, but sometimes it might be necessary. I like to do photo and a text, video and a text. So you can combine some of these. You can do reels on Instagram, Facebook. You can do lives when you have an event. Oh my word. If you have an event and it's a fundraising event and you do a live, you're bringing people, like they're in their living room, but you're bringing them to the event with you. They may still donate, take part, partner with you, even though they weren't actually there. But you, again, you opened up the curtain and you said, I'm going to show you what's going on here. And that's really appreciated by your audience. Then we have stories, quotes. I love quotes. I love quotes, whether they're just an encouragement. So sometimes when I feel like, oh, I don't have a lot of client stories to share on Instagram, I'm going to just I'm going to go find a quote. I'm going to create a post that is just an encouraging quote. I'm not asking anybody for anything. I'm just saying, hey, I want to encourage you today. And that's it. It's super simple. Or quotes from our volunteers or our clients or our donors. Those are great too, because it's real people that are saying something about your organization that can then go into the community and make an impact. And then of course, events and reports. So reports, like we did a post on our 2023 impact. It was our impact report. So you can do things like that. I don't do those often. I'm not really a big report girl, but I do them for numbers. Like last year, we served over 1,700 women through all 6 of our centers. It was our biggest year. And so I like to share that. That's important for our donors to know that. And then also potential clients to say, hey, they know what they're doing. And if 1,700 women have gone through Hope Women's Center, maybe I should try them out, and they're free, right? So I try to throw those numbers out when I can. So choose your platforms. At Hope Women's Center, we use 2. We use Facebook and Instagram. This gives you an idea right here of how many users are on the different platforms. This is from donorbox.com. Facebook, over 2 billion monthly active users. Instagram, 800 million monthly active users, and so on. But yeah, we use Facebook and Instagram. We have, like I said, 6 locations. So we have 6 Facebook pages and 1 Instagram page. Our headquarters is Phoenix. So I post everything on our Instagram Phoenix page, our headquarters page, that automatically connects to our Facebook Phoenix page, which I love. That's like getting it done in one swoop. But then I have the extra other pages that we go back. We have a marketing company that we partner with. I'll share with that in the next couple slides. But those are also able to be posted on simultaneously, but it's not connected to our Instagram. So do you see, it's a lot to manage? So we keep it simple so it can be managed well. So whichever platform you choose, or 1, 2, or 3, whatever you can handle, you just want to make sure that what you're choosing, you're doing it well. I think there's nothing worse than starting on a platform and then not being on there. Another nonprofit that I worked for, they were doing really well on their Facebook, but their Instagram hadn't been posted on for 8 months. And so when I got there, I said, do you want the Instagram still? Like, do we still want it? Yeah, we still want it. Okay, well, I think we need to get back in gear and kind of pick up and start posting on that, you know, multiple times a week so people know we're still open. we're still available to them, right? So you want to choose wisely with your platforms. You cannot be all things to all people on social media. If you don't take anything else away from today, just remember that, because I think sometimes we feel the more things that come out, like there's Threads now. I'm not going to go onto the platform Threads. Well, not anytime soon. I don't have time to go figure out a new platform and how it works and operates. I have my lane. I'm sticking to it. It's working well. So choose wisely for your nonprofit. choose the platforms where your audience is, choose one or two that you guys can manage well, and choose what works best for you. It's okay if there's 14 different platforms on there and you're on one. You can do one really, really well, and that will benefit your nonprofit. You will see an impact, you will see engagement because you're doing it well. Okay, and then tools for social media. Again, this is just what I use. There are so many tools out there. These are my 3 big ones. I use Canva, CapCut, and ChatGPT. What's interesting about ChatGPT is that I learned about it on Venture 19's training. So that was really big. I had never even heard about it before. Heather, I think you might have done the training in person, I think. I had never heard of it, and I thought, oh, I'm probably never going to use this. And I use it all the time now, and I love it. But Canva is, I love Canva. It's designed that brings your message and mission to life. With Canva for nonprofits, you can create visuals that captivate your audience much easier. It's not graphic design, but it's like design templates to where you can create your social media content on there. I use Canva. I used Canva for this presentation. I use Canva for everything. If I, for example, I was last week I was out of town painting murals, and I had created 10 templates off of Canva before I left that I put in my phone. And so that way, when social media posts were coming towards, like, Treva, can you post this? Can you post this? I just had to take that image, plop it into one of my templates that I had already made really quickly, and then I could share it on our Instagram stories. So it just made my world easier. So you literally could have no graphic design background and get on Canva and just search in Canva what you're looking for. Often I will search like Instagram stories with 3 photos, because I have 3 photos of one event that I need to post. And then all these templates come up, and I can plug my photos in. I can change things around. I put our logo, Hope Women's Center, on everything. So that's huge. You want to put your logo, your brand on everything. But Canva makes it so easy. CapCut is one that I use for video editing for Reels. And I also will use Instagram for Reels, but CapCut is, again, a bunch of templates that you can plug in your videos, and it'll create the music for it. It'll choose that. You can also do it yourself, where you choose all your music, how you're going to do the reel, the timing of it all. But again, if I don't have time, I like to use a template, plug everything in, and then post it that way. Makes it go a lot faster.
Treva, there's a couple of questions that popped right in here because you bring up tools, and everyone's really practical, which I love.
Yes.
But one of the questions is regarding LinkedIn. If you use it, do you know, is that a good platform for connecting with our C-level people, so you can gain synergy rather than general?
I don't use LinkedIn. What I've heard is it's great for professionals to communicate back and forth. If you want to connect with community partners, with other organizations, with other companies, if that's what you need, that's an audience that you need, then I would say LinkedIn. Probably really good for donors as well, again, like companies. But we don't use it for Hope because just our audience isn't there. But I have heard that it works really well in that professional world, connecting in that way.
Good. Yeah. And the second question is there a tool that you can create content that's linked to multiple social media platforms? Like if you do one post, you can connect it to different platforms. Is that true with Canva?
Canva, let's see. You can create the content there. Like what I do is I create my content there, and then I post it myself on Instagram and Facebook, which for us is connected. You can schedule out, we'll talk about scheduling, but you can also create your content on Canva, and then you can schedule it out as well. I believe Canva has a section that you can schedule out your posts once you've created them. I hope I'm answering that well, trying to just understand the question. But I think the question is like, can you create content and then put it out on all your social media kind of in one fell swoop? And I think the scheduling of your content is where you would do that. One of the things I want to mention that just doesn't have to do with scheduling, but it does have to do with Canva. In Canva, you can create a QR code This is one of the things that we've done that I love. So in Canva, it's super easy. You would just copy and paste the URL to your website, or like for us, I always will do because we have 6 locations. If I'm creating a flyer on Canva and I want a QR code on there to go to our Maricopa Center, I will get the URL for Maricopa on our website. I'll create that QR code, I'll put it on the flyer, and the center manager loves it when I do that, because when she's sharing those flyers, everybody already has the class schedule for that particular center, the information that's specific to that center. And that was a great tool that we found on Canva, was the QR code. There's other ways to do QR codes too, but Canva also has that ability.
Right. And just so when you bring up QR codes, do they last forever?
I think so.
Forever is a big word, but
Forever is a big word. We haven't had any issue with it not bringing us to the website that I want it to bring us to. So we haven't had any issue. So I'm not sure like the expiration date or anything, if there's something like that on a QR code, but so far it's working really well. And it's really helped us to just kind of up our game when we're creating content or flyers or anything like that, to have that QR code. We did a digital flyer off of Canva that one of the center managers in Coolidge put at the high school. And so the high school was running it on their TV. And so we were able to have the QR code on there for the teen girls that might want to come get involved. So that's been a great tool.
Thank you. Everyone loves this slide because it's very, very practical. And there are some good additions that folks have put onto the chat. So those of you that are typing about Meet Edgar and Hootsuite and all of that, if you want to add any more detail, feel free to do that. But we'll let you keep going because you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Well, and I do have like to use companies like Buffer, Hootsuite, and HubSpot to manage your social media. We partner, the reason why I don't have a slide that actually all of that, I just have it in my notes, but we partner with a local company called LuCorp Marketing, and they schedule out our posts. So I create all the content, all the wording for our posts and the calendar. I email it to them and they make sure that it goes to all of our Facebook pages and our Instagram. So our static posts, they are the ones that will schedule that out for us. And then our stories on Instagram. So you have static posts on your newsfeed, Facebook and Instagram, but then up at your profile, you have stories. For those that may not be familiar, stories last for 24 hours. The static posts in your newsfeed will last as ever long as you have them on there. And so the stories is where I put all of our thank yous, which I'm going to go over, but all of our thank yous for those donations, those go on stories. Oftentimes, any quotes of encouragement I put on our stories. So I try Monday through Friday to have our stories running. There's a few in there every day. I want it to be that people see that we are working, we're moving, we're growing, we're constantly in action at Hope Women's Center. And so our stories are huge to be consistent with throughout the week. And then our static posts, we do twice a week. So usually like on a Monday or Thursday or Tuesday, Friday, I schedule those. And LuCorp has been amazing. I write our newsletters and our blogs, but they're amazing to put everything together and then get it out and get it out into the community. But yeah, Buffer, Hootsuite, HubSpot, they can help you with that. LuCorp is local to Arizona. And then also Planable can also help you with scheduling an entire week of posts and helping you manage that. So one of the things that I did as I was trying to figure out ways to simplify and streamline our social media is I would go on YouTube, Google, wherever I could to do research. And so research some of these different companies, Planable, Hootsuite, Buffer, and see what works for you and what they offer as far as pricing and all of that, because that's really going to help you. I know for me, I don't have to keep track of our analysis and our data. And that's huge for me. So I feel like I really get the fun part. I get to create all the content and the verbiage that goes with it. So ChatGPT, again, some people are nervous about it. Guys, I'm telling you, if you haven't taken their Venture 19 training on ChatGPT, you need to do that, because I went on there just to play with it and it was so, so good. The way that I use it is this is what I do. March is Women's History Month. March 8th was International Women's Day. I don't know a lot about every single, bring awareness to whatever it is, but I will go research it. But you can type in a ChatGPT, create me a social media post on Women's History Month. And then immediately comes up a paragraph with the hashtags and everything else about Women's History Month that you could copy and paste into your social media. Boom, it's done. If I don't like that one, I'll just say it again. Create a social media post on Women's History Month, and it'll give me a different paragraph. I don't recommend copying and pasting right out of ChatGPT because a lot of people use it and a lot of people can tell when it's AI. And you don't want to be that, I don't want to be that person, right? That's like, oh, she didn't have time to write something. She had to go grab it. But what ChatGPT does for me is there's days when my brain just is not turned on. And I'm like, I have to write 14 social media posts today. And my brain is just, when I go into ChatGPT, it gives me a place to start. And it starts to get the juices flowing. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's a great way to kind of say that. And then I tweak it into my own words so that I can post it and it stays with Hope Women's Center vision and voice, and it doesn't sound AI. But it's a great place to start if you don't know where to start. So I use it a lot. Okay, this is the part of the Slack channel that I'm so super excited to share with you guys. So Slack is a messaging app for business that connects people to the information they need, brings people together to work as one unified team, and Slack transforms the way organizations communicate. So you can see in this picture, this is my actual Slack right here. I screenshotted it and put it in a phone on Canva. But do you see all the channels? So we have client stories, development, our EMA program, general, Instagram, Facebook stories. That's our social media. We have our newsletter and monthly needs, prayer requests, random staff. So these are our channels. So client stories and Instagram, Facebook stories, those are the two that I use the most to do my job. So what happens is we have 6 centers, and every center has its own core staff. We have the center manager, the assistant manager, and all the other people on staff. And so when they are working with a client and that client shares a story with them, they can put that story in this channel, client stories. And so if I were able to click on that right now, you would just see this whole list of client stories and who posted it. So when I want to do a post on like our 40th anniversary, this year, I can go in there and I can scroll through and find the kind of client story that I'm looking for. If I have any questions about that client story, it shows who posted it. So I can go to that staff member and say, hey, can you tell me a little bit more about so-and-so, and then I can create a story off of that. So one of the things that I heard at the Venture 19 training about people having a struggle to get everything in one spot, that's when I raised my hand and said, well, we have Slack and I never have a problem because our staff is really good. We've all been trained really well to communicate this information in Slack. So I can pull this up on my phone, my iPad, my computer. It's always at my fingertips. And so then the Instagram, Facebook stories, that is where, and I apologize, I should have had another picture of one of the thank you pictures that I've been talking about. I wish I would have put one in here. You can go on our Hope Women's Center page on Instagram and just go look through there and you'll see how my posts are. You'll see what I'm talking about. Go look at our stories. You'll see these thank yous in there. You'll see what I'm talking about. But that channel, the Instagram, Facebook stories, is where everyone at all 6 centers will share like donor thank yous. So we might have a church that comes to Hope Women's Center and they do a cleaning day. Well, we make sure that at the end of that or the beginning, there's a group picture of all the people from the church holding the sign that says thank you with our logo on it. That's the picture that they're going to post on that Instagram channel. So when they send that picture over onto that Instagram channel, it'll say at the top, thank you to City View Church for da, 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 da. I grab that picture, I put it in Canva, I grab the wording, the thank you, because they know whoever posted it knows what we're thanking them for. I don't, but they do. I take that information, I put it on my post. I tag those people in stories so that they know we're thanking them. This is a huge part of my job. It's a huge important part of Hope Women's Center. We want to make sure that everyone knows that they are thanked, that we appreciate them, all of that. So I know that on that channel, if it gets really full, say like December during Christmas, I could hardly keep up with stories because we had so many people donating, so many people helping. It was a slew. I had never seen anything like that. So many. And so then a lot of my time is going to creating the thank yous for every single one of those and getting them in the Instagram, Facebook stories. So is there any questions on that, Heather, on the Slack channel?
No questions on it. I think people are interested in that. And I just put in there a question for people to say, are there other ways? And so add in the chat if you have a great way, like Treva is sharing. They use Slack to be able to share stories, pictures, videos on site when things happen, because a lot of times siloing, people that are doing social media struggle to get information that is current and exciting. So if you have a great way to do that, put that in the chat, because we do learn from each other really well. I think people are very interested in that, and especially in the thank you, how you using social media for thank yous. A lot of people use it for different ways. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, go on our Instagram. I apologize for not having an actual picture. That would have been great. But if you go on there, you will see everything that I do on there, and it'll all make sense. The Slack channel is also really great, not just for social media, but you'll see there we have prayer requests channel. We have a random channel. We have staff. So we pray for each other as staff, and we pray over clients that are going through a hard time. And the prayer request channel is huge. That's where we share all of that. I shared this webinar today on the prayer request channel, and people are responding. And Slack is almost like a little bit of its own social media. People are able to heart things and respond and reply. And it just keeps, because we have 6 centers, if we didn't have a place like this where we're able to communicate, we would be lost and we would not be connected. And so this is a fabulous way where we're able to see what is going on at the different locations. I could not do my job if we didn't have this, because I'm not meeting with the clients all the time. So I'm relying on our staff and our volunteers to share those client stories. And I know sometimes that's hard in your organization to get people to commit to remembering to share, right? And I think it's just that repetitive consistency of just reminding your staff every time you're at a meeting, reminding them to share. Maybe open up with some wins from the previous month or something like that, where people start to get comfortable in sharing what's going on, whether it's with clients or whether it's with donors, because then when you do something like Slack, it's a little bit more second nature for them to share.
Yeah, well, Treva, a couple of questions just practically is, since you do work full-time with Hope Women's Center, but how many hours do you generally commit to social media in a week?
It really depends. I would say it usually takes, some days if it's pretty slow, maybe I might spend an hour. But because I do the newsletter and the posts ahead of time, a month in advance all the time, like right now I'm going to do April. So it's going to take me, gosh, I've never really added it up. I would probably say that it takes me 5 to 8 hours to do a whole month in advance, but only because I've been doing it now for a little while. At first, I was like, what am I doing? How am I going to do all this? And it probably took me 20 hours. But yeah, it depends. If it's really busy, like in December, I was spending a good portion of each of my days doing it. But now it's kind of more streamlined, and I'm able to do it probably an hour to 2 hours a day. If you don't have that amount of time, I don't want you to panic, because you don't have to do all the things that we're doing, and you may not have 6 locations to where you're having to, do social media for 6 different places. So
and just Also clarifying for you, you are the primary person of doing social media.
Right.
You don't have social media people in 6 centers. You just have staff people feeding you information. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
My
Yep.
job is
Good question,
ministry wide.
Carla.
Yeah, that's correct. That's a great question. Yep, just me. But I also, when I create the social media, it always gets sent to my CEO before it gets sent to the marketing company to dish out. So I want to make sure that I have checks and balances, right?
Sure.
So some people can have a social media team, and you're gonna keep each other accountable. You're gonna make sure that that voice that you're using is the same and it's consistent. What I do is I create, and then I send it to the CEO. She looks it over, and she has caught a few things like that we don't want to share that part of the client story, right? Or this word here kind of lends it to this kind of voice, so we want to tweak it this way. And I'm so appreciative of that, because I'm just one brain, right? So it's good to
Yeah.
have more brains doing it.
That's a great example. Thank you.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. It really, really helps us just stay on task, stay in our lane, keep our voice consistent. I would love to know if you guys also have other things like Slack that you use. These are 2 things that you could do. The Google Drive, we have all our client stories in Google Drive. I make sure that all my social media posts are organized by month and year in the Google Drive. We probably won't have to reuse those because they're very specific to the month. But I like the accountability of, I'm going to create all these posts and I'm going to put them in a folder. So anybody at Hope Women's Center can go in there and see what we're doing and what I have posted. So you can keep your social media content in Google Drive if you want. And then also the social media team, whether it's one person or a whole team, just again, making sure that it's the same voice. And then this is our last slide. Well, we have one more slide after this, but consistency in social media. I touched on this some, and having a point person is so good for social media, because the more, like, having a social media team is great, but having one person that's the point person. In other words, we do not want to have 5 different people posting on social media without a game plan, without knowing the right voice. It can get very chaotic, and the community, the audience that you're reaching, can feel that. So social media, we want to say that it's like one person is always posting. Even if there's a couple people doing it, it looks like one person is doing it because it's one nonprofit with one voice. I hope that makes sense. I often say in my mural business, last week I painted 2 murals. And I had a painting partner. I always hire at least one other painter. But what I always tell the person I hire is the mural has to look like one person painted it. I can have 4 people paint a mural with me, but I'm in charge. I manage it, and it all has to look like I did it. I'm just hiring you so that I can get it done faster for the client. Same thing goes with social media. It needs to look like one person, one voice. If you have too many hands in the cookie jar, it just gets too messy. And then plan your calendar. Taking time to plan out your month or your week will make it easier in the end. So don't feel like you can post once a week. You don't have to post 5 times a week. You don't have to post every day. If you only post every Monday, but you did that well, people will trust that you are posting, that your nonprofit is working, that you are serving, that your mission is happening, right? It could be once a week, but plan it out so you're not like, oh, shoot, it's Monday morning. I haven't posted something. I should post really quick. I've done that, and it's really stressful to do it that way. Now I have a calendar, and even though I work hard the week before that month starts to get everything in order, once I get it on the calendar, I'm done. And I don't have to worry about it in that month, other than the stories that I do during the week. Again, scheduling your content, Hootsuite, Planable, a marketing company. Like I said, we use LuCorp. Schedule out your content so you're not feeling like you have to stop everything you're doing to get that thing posted on a Monday. Schedule it out. Okay. All right. And then wrapping up, and I think we have time for, we have time for a few questions, but Maya Angelou said, I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And I love that quote, and it's so true. People may not remember that we served 1,700 women last year, but they will remember how they felt when they came into our Hope Women's Center, and they will remember how they feel when they look at our social media, when they're reading a post. They're going to see the compassion and the love that we have for women and teen girls, and that is what our goal is. So thank you so much for letting me share all of that today. And then if
Yeah,
you
this
have any
is
questions.
Yeah, just such great information. I love Triva, and I I just reiterated that in the chat. I love the example of different people coming together to paint that mural, but it
Yeah.
needs to be right. It can't look like if you've hired 4 different people, it can't look like 4 different pictures, right?
Yes.
So it's gotta be the right tone, voice, style. That's such a great example of how social media needs to feel.
And I
So
want
yeah,
to say something on that along those lines, Jonathan, that you brought up. When we painted the mural last week, we needed to outline everything in black. It was just me and one other artist. So we tried outlining on the bottom. There were going to be chairs in front of the bottom part of the mural. I said, let's try outlining and let's see how we do. She started outlining and I started outlining. We decided that the way I was outlining was going to work better for certain things on the wall, and the way that she was outlining was going to work better for certain things on the wall. So we divided and conquered. But we divided and conquered based on the giftedness of each one of us. We're both artists, we're both capable, but we both do it a little bit differently. So that's what you want to do in your staff, in your volunteers, whoever does your social media. You want to make sure that you're looking at their giftedness and plugging people into the right things. Does that make sense?
yeah,
So yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. And I would say this to everybody: you have great content for social media. Everybody here, God is doing great work in and through your ministries, and so a lot of being successful with social media. And Triva, I love that you've touched on how the organizational side of it, how to organize it, where to put stories, where can we grab information, what are we trying to accomplish. So everybody here has content for social media. It's just a matter of organizing it and coming up with your plan. And for some of you, your plan's going to be a little bit more involved. And for others of you, it's going to be very basic. You're just figuring out where to start. And that is fine. That's perfect. So what is God doing, and how do you want to get it across to your people, and how do you want them to engage that? So I feel like there's been something here for everybody. This has been really, really informative. Heather, any questions that we need to go back to, or anything in the chat box right now?
There's more questions today than we've had in last year, I think. So Triva, you've sparked people's minds. An earlier question I did want to make sure to get back at, and then, once Jonathan closes it off, we will stay online a little bit longer, and Triva will be willing to answer some more questions once people need to go. But one of them, real practically, is okay, we hear all of this, it's good. How do you actually promote your social media pages with people you're trying to connect with? So if you know your audience, but how do you actually connect with them? And how do people find those pages? So kind of backing it way up.
Yes. Oh, that's a good question. So first of all, if you're starting out and you're creating your social media, by having definitely on your website. So here, before I say that, if you have Instagram and Facebook, the little icons at the bottom of your website, that's super helpful. But there have been people that have had their website with an Instagram icon, and then I click on that icon, it takes me to the Instagram, and it's like a ghost town. There's nothing happening on their Instagram. So it's better to not have the icon on there on your website to lead people somewhere where you're not, right? So make sure your website is up to date. Get those icons on there, whatever platform you're going to use. Make sure there's a way on your website for someone to click on it. And then make sure when they're led to that platform, there's something happening over there that they're going to want to see. The other thing that you can do is you can have your volunteers, your staff, share your pages, share your posts on their own personal pages. This gets some conversation going. It kind of gets you out there. And so you could go ask personally, like, hey, we want everybody to share this event that's coming up on social media. You just have to, it builds, it'll start to snowball where you'll start to get more followers and you'll start to see that people are sharing your content. But it does start, I think, with having the information, the hard copy information that you have at your organization, be able to say, hey, we're on Facebook and Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, whatever that is. And then also by having it on your website, it just lets people know that you're available at these other platforms. And then as you have other people share, it'll do this ripple effect. It does take a little bit of time to get that ripple effect, but it can happen.
Jonathan, there are a lot of other questions, but if you want to wrap up for us now and we can stay on, individuals are ready to jump in and ask some questions.
Yeah,
There is my email down there too.
yeah, I was just going to say Treva has graciously provided her email there, so feel free to email her directly with follow-up questions or things that maybe you'd like to talk about a little bit further. And then, as Heather just mentioned, we'll wrap up here, but you are welcome to stay on with us for another 5 or 6 or 7 minutes. Treva's going to stay on with us, and we'll just open it up and you can just fire away on some other questions that you have. But Treva, I do just want to say before I pray, thank you. Such great information. Love just drawing from your experience. And it's so helpful to see how an organization like Hope Women's Center handles social media, because it's applicable to us in so many different ways. So just love understanding more about your journey with it and the Hope Women's Center journey with it as well. Let me pray for us. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for just these few minutes together. God, I thank you for speaking through Treva and just encouraging us and inspiring us and stretching us today. God, we just continue to commit our work to you, and our heart is that we would be able to share it in a way that would inspire and engage other people. And so, God, I just pray that you would just lead us in the next steps that we need to take here with our social media plan. And again, we just thank you for this time. We thank you for meeting with us, and we thank you for the work that God, you are doing in our lives and through our ministries. Thank you, God, for this time. And we pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.